Hello. So, what I did was I took a look at the two articles that you found, and I found that there's like a great about abundance. I don't know if I want to go that far. There's a lot of literature connected to those. So even if you find just one good one, that's a great place to start. So in this video, I'm going to show you how I expanded on the search that you've already done, and I'm going to show you how to search for more related to that, how to find other databases that you could look with those keywords that we find in there. And then I think that's about it, and that'll get us started. But don't think this is my only stop. I'm here with you for the duration, but this is just to get you started. So, when you, by the way, everything is de-identified, and your name, identity is never mentioned in this video. So, I was looking at the two articles and I was like, oh, this is really great. It's like February, it's like 5 years ago, and this other one, even though it's a bit older, we could maybe track those down and see what's related to it. A cool tool that came out recently is something, well, I guess inside of my career, was the ability to take an article title like this and track down how many things had cited it since it was published. And they're all the rage these days. So in databases from the library homepage, and I've done all the login stuff, you may have to still, there's a ton, there's close to 500 databases. So this is one of those that you can measure impact with, if anyone ever asks. One's called Scopus, one's called Web of Science. I'll show you a link to those later, so you don't have to remember right now. But I'll show you Scopus first. Scopus is, I think they use the name kind of Scopus because it is all the disciplines, and it's the top tier journals. So top tier being the most highly regarded, respected journals in every discipline. And so you can search for anything and you can see how many times something has been cited. So you could look for a particular topic. I saw permanency show up a lot, or you can look up the title of an article and you can see how many times it's been cited. If it's in the top tier journal. And I've already done this search, so we're very lucky that, yes, it already is. Ignore that. Okay, when I'm searching for a title, I have to put it in quote marks. That way it will force the search to look for that exact string as it is completely typed out. Kind of like a quote. And there's not going to be a lot because that's a mouthful of text all stuck together. But it's looking through 70 to 100 million articles right now, all in one go. And it's going to send me back, hopefully just that one. But then here's where we can do some work. So it's that same article you had. If you wanted to get full text for anything you find in here, you have to click on this Find It button. If you run stuck on anything for more than a minute, email me the citation and I'll show you how to track down articles. There's like 5 different ways of doing it. None of them are intuitive unless you're familiar with it. So the first thing we want to do is let's click on the article itself, and you can see what's called the author-supplied keywords. When authors like Rolock send articles to publishers, they say, well, how should this be indexed? And in some disciplines like nursing and in medicine, there's very strictly controlled vocabulary, but in social work, the author supplies what they think is the best way to discover those. So those are right here, author keywords. And what we have is, so when I was thinking of your topic, I was thinking, oh, like a longitudinal study where we look over a period of time. But on this one, there's a lot talking about permanency. So permanence, post-permanency, relational permanence. So what I did is I went back and I added all of those keywords and I put an or in between those. This will make sense in a moment, but every time you think of a synonym or a related term for a very specific concept or a keyword, you can put an or in between. And I put foster care in quotes, and long-term foster care and post-permanency discontinuity in quotes, so those would stick together. And here we have adoption. That one's kind of weak because I haven't explored that one yet. Um, but also, what does AFDC look back? If I see something that I'm like, what does that mean? I'll just open up a new browser. And so, is this a post adoption evaluation of past criteria, or is Title 4/E? Is that working with something? So sometimes these things you have to do a little extra research on the side and see, oh, is that a great keyword or not? So Title 4-E and the AFDC lookback, it looks like a policy thing. So this might not have anything to do with mental wellness or relationship stability. It might be more about like public policy and satisfying public policy criteria, if that's what you're interested in. But you might add those keywords. Be that as it may. Here you can see all the references that the paper cited in the first place, and you can see how many times they've been cited. The future of children, safety and stability. Is stability the antonym of permanence, or is it a synonym for permanence? I don't know. But I might throw it in the pile. But you can view those in a search results format. And you can go through each one of those articles too. Here's the fun thing that you can do. Whoa, look at that. This one that says no title available. Midwest Evaluation of Adult Functioning of Former Foster Youth Outcomes at age 19. That's been cited almost 800 times since it came out. That's impact. That's a good one. I'll show you how to do that with a future article. But some of these things are wildly out of date. So I would be careful in an annotated bibliography unless something was what they call a seminal work or a foundational work that everything grew from. I would hesitate to go back to 1959. It seems like a lot has happened since then. Let me go back to the search results way back when we did the initial search for the article. You can do this with the second article. I'm not sure if it is indexed in Scopus, but you get the idea. If you find a good one, you can look it up in Scopus. But let's see what cited that article that you found good. Oh, Scopus is so slow today. So this is our article. Remember we did that search in quotes. If you go over here, since 2018, these 14 high-impact scholarly articles cited this one. And they essentially couldn't exist without it, which means they're probably on track with what you're looking for. By the way, Scopus and Web of Science databases are bibliographic or citation literature review tools that people use all the time. So there's resiliency. Oh, there's permanency again. Comparative analysis. So that's legislation in Australia. Permanency, and they're looking at sociological. Genuine support. Is there criteria for genuine support? There's commitment. I like that one. So all sorts of different words that might have measurements for them. And you can go through all of these and go, yeah, that one's good, or this one, oh, that's perfect. Post-adoption support needs. And then there's 5 articles that supported that. Okay. I have some permanency keywords. What databases do I go into? For the library databases, you could go in by discipline. So if you wanted to go in and look at mental well-being, you would go into psychology. So you would go down and look up psychology. And the psychology librarian, there's many librarians. The psychology librarian will pick this one in yellow as their top one. How do you know which databases to go through? I have a list. So you can go through piecemeal and sort that out, or you can go through my greatest hits list under research guides. If you look up social work, you'll find my list. Let's see this, and here's other librarians: engineering, mind sciences, foreign language, international students, fine arts. Ian's awesome at everything. I'm just going to look for social work. All the disciplines are here, though. So I encourage you to cruise through and look. But if you go to the social work guide, I have a PhD and master's help link. That's probably my favorite. I go to this more often than any other. So getting started, we were looking, this is systematic and it goes down the list. Getting started is like becoming familiar with your topic and the keywords that are being used. So you could look for permanence and foster care in the library catalog. Library catalog is kind of a piecemeal meaning it's kind of a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and it's not high impact guaranteed, it's kind of the whole scope. So there'll be some low end and high end scholarship. You just throw in search terms in here. This is like public policy, these are newspapers and law. Not a lot of scholarship in those. You can look on the open web with some of these, but here is discipline specific research. Here's my favorite databases that I recommend you try. So PsycInfo, and you can see the ones that are big are my favorites, but you can see that there are disciplinary things as well. So the education, since we're looking at a protected population under the age of 18 that's probably in the public education system, I'd recommend Education Full Text and ERIC. PsycInfo, PAIS is public policy, Medline and CINAHL, you'd think would be just about like medicine, but a lot of it is like working with patients in protected populations. This is societies, so some government, some sociological stuff. Let's look at PsycInfo. Let me show you what I was talking about when I was looking at these keywords that I have set here. PsycInfo, by the way, is the favorite of social work people by far. I love sociological abstracts because it shows practice, but they're just like, no, no, no. So I'd start with this one. Go to advanced search. And then you'll see a familiar thing. You'll see there's an and and an and. So I'm going to go back here. Long-term foster care. And the or says, look up this one. And once you get all those results, then look up this one too. And we just separate the concepts into different lines. So this one has a ton of stuff in here. But that and, this and right here means look up everything in here and then get rid of all of the ones that you have that don't have one of these words in here. So just for fun, since we're in psychology, it has to have foster care in it. And it has to have one of those words in it. Let's see what happens. Fingers crossed. Permanence might be a new keyword. 1002. Okay, maybe not. Permanence and stability, long-term foster care in Ireland. So look at all of that. This is a lot of stuff to go through. For your bibliography, if you need to narrow it down, there's an article from 1938. Is that too early? It could be. I might come up to like the last 5 years or the last 10 years. Depends on what your instructors are guiding you to. Oh, I accidentally did the last 6 years. Ooh, that narrowed it down. Now it's a much more sustainable list to go through. So there's immigrant populations, Irish populations. I think these pictures we can ignore. Childhood maltreatment, African American students. So it looks like a lot of them are just changing. They're just looking at populations. Oh, there we go, psychological well-being, which makes sense. How do you go through all of those in one go? You can just go on subject. And if you're looking for something in particular, the subject, these are the keywords. Remember those author-supplied keywords? So you can say, okay, I'm interested in welfare, or I'm interested in foster, or I want constructions of well-being, or I want to just look at parents, or an intervention, mental health. Let's try, I'm going to look at well-being, mental health. Let's see things that are related to that. There's policymaking. There's databases that do that better. Resilience, that sounds like a good one. Risk factors, behavior, yeah, that's an outcome. So I'm just looking for psychology stuff. There's more behavior. Okay. When I update, I'm narrowing it down even further, and there's only 27. What you can do is, if you get a nice tidy list like this, you can go through and look, and are these the things you're looking for? Some of these are dissertations too, so you can trim it down just to academic journals. Pairing puppies with the homeless. Love dogs. So that's one way of doing it. Let me show you another one. So we're looking at like wellness and psychological. Those keywords are good. We could also add keywords up here, add another line. So you could do wellness or outcomes, or you could add line after line after line. Every line that you add, you're narrowing down your list farther. Let's go to a different one. If we can. And go back to my guide, and let's look at that education one. I want to look at policy. What drives policy? So if you're annotated bibliography, you have this big group of articles, and you could narrow it down into a lump of psychological outcomes, public policy, parental outcomes. And I think that might be helpful to narrow it down that way. Here we go. Okay. So let's go to, well, instead of education, let's go to PAIS. That's a public policy database. Let's do the same search. And instead of psychological interventions, we're looking at public policy. And it probably will be examples of public policy. And they might have outcomes written in there. It's a different form of article. I'm going to do advanced search again. My Zotero keeps on sticking its shoulder in. Hey, do you want Zotero? No. No Zotero. And you can add rows in this one. Okay, so now we're not in psychology, but we can use those same keywords. These are cities, states, countries that are experimenting with the psychological outcomes. And let's do last 3 years. That might be too narrow. So we're doing the same search, but we're doing it in a different database bucket, as it were. Ooh, 26. There might be some overlap, because they might cite some things. Uh-oh, what's going on? Do I get my search results? Let me hit reload. Oh, now there's 13. Oh, bizarre. Or there's none? I'm working with a new VPN, so hopefully it's related to the VP. God, now there's only 6 results. Every time I hit reload, I get fewer and fewer. How bizarre. Let's try a different database. I mean, you get the idea. Your results may vary depending on the VPN that you're using. Oh, how bizarre. Darn it, ProQuest. I had so much faith in you. Let's try that education one. So this one uses psychology, uses public policy, and it develops ideas for working with foster populations. Whoops. I'll just do foster care. Oh, look at here. Here's some other synonyms. Neat. Let's see what we get in education. 624. Hey, cool. So this is a child and adolescent social work journal. Oh, this is very similar, isn't it? Should we narrow it down through school? There's guardianship. So let's add the word school. And I'll do a star. So if it's school or schools. So I want this to be in an educational setting. I didn't know I had to name it like that. There must be overlap in the journals that they index. Ooh, that cut it by a third. Ooh, there's placement stability. So do you have to have a school close to you? Discontinuity. Do schools play a role? Yeah, I think so. Initial living arrangement. So it looks like schools have a difference that they play. And here's the evidence for it. Okay, I think you're starting to get the idea. Let me show you one last place to go for extra keywords. But I'd say go through these, save the articles that you find useful or interesting. Don't try and read them all at the same time. Just go through the headlines and see if you can build a narrative of like major groups of study. And I would say go through this one. Social Science Premium is good. PsycInfo, obviously, this one. This one, if you can get it to work. CINAHL is great because nursing and hospital staff and doctors have a criteria for sorting out whether a child or a protected population is being abused, or if they're in a good guardianship situation. Here's Scopus and Web of Science if you want to approach those again. And I think that's all we're going to start with. Let me know how it goes, and I am here to help you.